Hello, welcome to Levant TV headlines. An Israeli air raid has hit a car in a village in the Syrian Golan Heights along the country's border, killing 5 civilians. Australia is considering a US request to launch airstrikes against Islamic State fighters in Syria in an unprecedented departure from Australian foreign policy that could spark political disputes. The US said it is very concerned over recent Saudi-led airstrikes on the city of Hodeidah in Yemen, noting the port's important role as a lifeline for humanitarian relief. Turkey's state news agency Anatolia says Turkish forces have killed 771 militants of the Kurdistan Workers' Party in northern Iraq and southeastern Turkey over the last 4 weeks. And Jeremy Corbyn, hopeful for the Labour Party leadership, left-winger touted to head Britain's main opposition Labour Party, says he will apologise over the Iraq war if he wins next month's leadership contest. Now let's have a look at the top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. From the UAE, the Khalij Times leads reporting that Saudi's King Salman bin Abdulaziz received UAE's Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan at his residence in the Moroccan city of Tanger, where they discussed fraternal relations between the two countries. The paper also reports that Britain and Iran will reopen their respective embassies in the coming days, 4 years after protesters angry over nuclear sanctions stormed the UK mission in Tehran. From Beirut, the Daily Star leads reporting that the Internal Security Forces Information Bureau Friday detained a Lebanese national on charges of using Lebanese ports to smuggle foreigners abroad. The paper also reports that the Lebanese army confiscated weapons and military equipment from a number of locations in an eastern border village. The Egypt Independent leads reporting that Egypt is seeking liquefied natural gas from Jordan as the two neighbors bolster LNG imports following their recent installation of floating storage and regasification units. The paper also reports that the chairman of Juhayna, Egypt's largest dairy products and juices producer, has been barred from trading on the Cairo bourse and his shares have been frozen. Now let's have a look at the top Middle East headlines from papers here in London. The Guardian leads reporting that Israel has said it killed 4 Palestinian militants in an airstrike on the Syrian Golan Heights after rocket fire from Syria prompted the heaviest Israeli bombardment since the start of Syria's 4-year-old civil war. Friday's attack came after Israel launched heavy overnight strikes against Syrian army posts in the border area in retaliation for what Israel said were rockets fired from Syria into Israel. The Independent leads reporting that Sir John Chilcot has his team have no plans to abandon their examination of the war in Iraq. They insisted after the Independent revealed the inquiry panel had discussed resigning en masse in protest against the pressure it has been put under to speed up publication. In a rare public statement, the inquiry panelists said they understand the need for David Cameron, Parliament and the public to see their report finished as soon as possible. The Telegraph reports that Britain's embassy in Tehran will reopen this week when Philip Hammond is due to become the first foreign secretary to visit Iran for almost 12 years. Mr. Hammond is expected to raise a new Union flag almost 4 years after the old one was burnt by a pro-regime mob, which stormed and ransacked the mission in November 2011, forcing the evacuation of all British diplomats from Tehran, leading the Foreign Office to retaliate by ordering Iran to close its embassy in London. And now let's have a look at the top Middle East headlines in international papers. Germany's Deutsche Welle reports that the Islamic State militants have demolished a monastery in Syria and transferred several dozen Christians to a site near a stronghold. The Marillian monastery, whose origins date back to the 4th century, was destroyed by the militants who published a photo online purporting to show the destruction. And finally, China's Global Times reports that Israeli authorities refused a request by top Hamas official to let his families living in Israel visit the Gaza Strip for his son's wedding, citing that the refusal was because some Israelis are still missing in Gaza. Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of the Hamas movement, filed a request citing humanitarian grounds, asking Israel authorities to allow his 3 sisters who live in Bedouin communities in the southern Israeli Negev desert enter the enclave to celebrate his son's wedding. That was it for today's headlines. For more updates, please visit our website on levant.tv. Thanks for watching and be sure to join us again tomorrow.